everyone! Welcome to another episode of Zalora Talks. I'm your host, Angelique Manto, a TV and events presenter and fashion and beauty content creator based in the Philippines. Well, today's conversation is likely to strike a chord with our listeners as it's become very pervasive and yet remains quite taboo for some. And I'm talking about cosmetic treatments and plastic surgery. I know it's never not a controversial topic, whether you're all for it or have some reservations. So, to help us navigate the issues surrounding plastic surgery and elective cosmetic procedures, we're very honored to have with us today two inspiring women. We have a psychologist, columnist, and a podcast host herself, Dr. Anna Tuazon. Hi, Doc Anna.
Hi, Angelique. Thanks for having me today.
Very excited to be hearing from you, as well as with another empowered woman sharing with us her experience, a beauty queen, athlete, and performer, Miss World Singapore 2017, Laanya Ezraa Asogan. Hi, Laanya.
Hello, Angelique. How are you? You look so beautiful.
As you are. Recently, I don't know if you heard this, but supermodel Bella Hadid opened up about regretting her nose job and, wishing that she kept the nose of her ancestors, saying it really stemmed from her insecurities because of what people kept on telling her. I think this concept is also quite familiar across Asian cultures. Wouldn't you say, Laanya?
Definitely. I think being in the beauty industry itself and growing up with so many different standards of beauty, you want to fit into the mold. You don't want to stray as far as possible because you're so impressionable when you're young. In fact, I was just like that. I would go up to my mom and tell her I'm upset that she didn't give me what these other girls have.
Most of it come really externally. On one end, we have conservative elders who tut at it.
Yeah.
And on the other end, we also have some people, poking fun at one's appearance, causing self-esteem issues. And mostly, it's really women on the receiving end of this damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Dr. Anna, why does it seem to be like, it's always the women who needs to be on the endpoint of this that you need to enhance something on yourself, or if you do it, you'd be shamed for it. If you don't, you'd be like, why aren't you changing anything?
Well, one, of course, it's not limited just to women. I think increasingly men are also receiving that pressure. However, you are right in the sense that there's always been this really big emphasis on physical appearance, especially for women. From an evolutionary psych perspective, right? It was one of those attributes, right, that have that people have associated with value and worth. And this is not coming from a biological or genetic cause, unfortunately, right? This is how women have been objectified, kind of treated as possession by parents and by family. And so the way to present, right, the way to best quote unquote sell your daughter is through the physical appearance, right? And they're saying because through the physical appearance, there are a lot of claims falsely, right, about how one looks relates to fertility, relates to their capacity as a mom, right, etc. And of course, that's not how we see it now. Now it's really more for pressure for a job, for a career, for success.
Yes.
But either way, there are still these erroneous associations between appearance and skill, and more importantly, in mental health, right, appearance and worth.
I'd like to throw this question to Laanya. When you first heard of people engaging you to, maybe you need to do something for yourself before really fully partaking on a pageant, what were your first thoughts about that?
Been my whole life very open about the conversation of aesthetics because the truth is, and I will kind of like backtrack a little bit into my past. When I was 15 years old, and I had this English teacher who I'd always confide in because she was like a friend.
Yes.
And I said to her, I'm so unhappy with the way I look. And she said, Laanya, why are you so unhappy? You live in a world where things can be changed. You work hard, you work smart, and you work on yourself. And at some point, if you have enough money to fix whatever you feel is a problem, physically rather, you can go ahead. But at that point in your life, when you get there, you'll realize that's not important because you've grown so much as a person. But those choices you will still have if you focus on what you need to focus right now. See, at that point, I was so looks oriented because validation, I think, is the core of every human being's desire. You want to be validated. You want to be needed. You want to be wanted. And this is what most of beauty pageants are based on, you know? And I would say, well, I don't know if it's a dangerous thing to say this, but I fell into the trap. I did. And the wins, the compliments, like the criticisms are even louder, you know? Did I get work done? Not heavy plastic surgery, but definitely aesthetics, facials and fillers and all this with the understanding that it could help me sort of, not in that time, in that frame. It wasn't so much for me, it was for other people. And it was just a very suffocating time for me to try and fit into those beauty standards. In fact, after my pageant, it was when I decided if I wanted any enhancements, it was going to be for me, right?
Yes.
And I got comfortable with it and comfortable talking about it after, maybe 2 or 3 years after pageantry. Because people want you to be this natural, untouched beauty. Like, how did she get there? But the truth is, you're going to need some help.
Yes.
Right? And even I said to my friend, you don't go to the gym expecting to just work out and look certain ways. If you have this goal in your head, unfortunately, as superficial as this might sound right now, the real answer is you're going to need some aesthetic help.
Yes.
But that too is a very fine line.
Yeah.
Because if you fall into the trap of, I need to look this way because then that's the only way I can fit into society, it's definitely a dangerous or a slippery slope. Like, I have friends who want to remove a mole that they find really unattractive. And I'm like, go ahead. You know, I'm not going to tell you not to do it if that makes you happy. But remember, it's within you to stop just there. Because if I have to get into your head, it's going to be harder. So I think that's just that very fine line between holding yourself back.
Yes.
Because I have found myself going like, oh, do I need this? Oh, do I need a nose job? Oh, do I this, and the other? But I'm so thankful that you got to do some work on yourself. As Dr. Anna would even agree, I hope.
Yes, for sure.
That the work comes within you, because the noise, they're going to keep talking. But,
and they're not going to stop berating you until you do another thing and another thing and another thing.
Yes. And they're going to suggest what you've done and you've never done it. And I'm like, oh, did I need that?
But now, lately, seemingly the conversation is shifting from being hush-hush or such a cause of shame or the need for people to deny to people being openly conversing about it, you know, from Korean celebrities to local influencers or vloggers, even making content out of it so that people would be comfortable about it. They're openly admitting to it.
When I first started opening up about it, a lot of people were like, oh, you look terrible, or you should never have touched yourself. You know, what are you suggesting? Are you suggesting that this is a plastic world? But the truth is, I'm merely educating people. And I would like to think it's more educational than it is detrimental. Because when you see celebrities go from A to B, and you don't know what happened in between. And you know what? The truth is they don't have to speak about it. This is their choice and their freedom and their rights, rather. So if I have the liberty or the luxury to share it, I feel like, why not? And if someone doesn't like it, it's the same thing as going back to ground zero. You didn't like it when I looked like that. Now you're not going to like it when I look like this. So I conclude that you don't like me. And, we'll just have to move on from that. But yes, I'm very confident now. I'm very happy to even encourage someone and tell them, if you need it, you can get it. And you'll have a doctor who will advise against it. I've been to doctors and they don't, more often than not, doctors don't push for it. I would like to think so. There's always choices and being educated on the repercussions and knowing what's going to happen after or what happens through the process.
Dr. Anna, has a client ever come to you for help with such a decision? Like when they ask you if I should do this, do you have some kind of guiding principles as to whether it is acceptable or okay versus, you don't really need it so much, or you just need to work on other aspects of yourself?
So most people that go to psychotherapy, that's usually not their main purpose, at least not for cosmetic enhancements, maybe for other enhancements.
Yes.
That's something that they might go to us for just to double check, right? Making sure, as Laanya and you have said, right, that the motivations and the reasons for why you're doing it, right? It is healthy. And now you have to realize, of course, the people that I do see are those that are also struggling typically from depression, anxiety, really poor body image, eating disorders, things like that. So I'm giving you this context because obviously the slice of the population that I see are those that are significantly distressed, and that for some of them, right, then they consider whether and cosmetic enhancements. And let's face it, I'm really more concerned about the surgery, right? Something that has general anesthesia, something that has, considerable risk that I would like my clients to be at least very well aware of and make informed decisions on. So with that, when is it acceptable? And it's really not that far off from what Laanya said, right? And how she kind of went through that decision. First, you definitely have to do it for yourself. If it's your husband that wants you to do it. I also do family therapy, but it shouldn't be the sole reason at the very least. I'm not saying throw that out, but so it's mainly for yourself, and it shouldn't be a panacea for all the other problems in your life. For example, like if I do this, people will accept me, people will start liking me, will love me. If I do this, then I'll be confident, and then, right? Then everything else follows. Yeah. So it's really important that we are very realistic. And I think for the cosmetic surgeons, right, that's really what they want to make sure of. They want to make sure of the reason why they would perhaps say no, aside from the medical, contraindications, is the idea that, wait, you're asking for something, right? You're asking for a kind of change that might not happen or not happen to that same dramatic degree that you'd like. And that's when I see the doctors kind of caution them and say, okay, this change isn't going to sudden, right? For example, like some people say, make me look like, Jennifer Aniston, make me look like Angelina Jolie, right? Like,
realistically.
Yeah. So sort of let's be realistic about what it can actually do for you. And so in the psych world and the mental health world, it's not going to make your depression go away, just solely changing how you look. That has to be accompanied, right, with lifestyle change, a lot of inner work, because there's sort of that dangerous road where if you change your physical appearance in the hopes of changing your inner self, I've seen people just go through surgery again and again and again because they're not quite reaching that level of contentment that they thought they would get, right? It's like, and so that inner work does have to happen. So for example, even when we're talking about liposuction, right? You can't just do that and then that's it, right? That's it. You'll never have to worry about your weight or, your size. I mean, that comes with working out, good nutrition, good lifestyle, etc. So what I'm not here to kind of dissuade. I don't dissuade clients from things. It's really like making sure that they are making the genuine choices here, right? Genuine means informed, like Laanya said. You really need to know the risks, of what you're going, of what you're going to go through, and genuine in the sense of this is a genuine choice, meaning I know I don't have to do this. Even if I don't do this, I can make a life that's still happy and worth living. And this is just something I want to do. I want to live my life with a certain kind of nose. I want to live my life with really strong cheekbones, right? That's okay. However, for some people where it says, I can't move on and I can't, live the life that I want if I don't get this done. That's where, okay, let's at least explore this a little bit. Let's try to make use of non-pharmacological, non-surgical, options first to kind of really see what's going on. Because in my experience, depressed people that go through the knife to change their appearance will still be depressed. People with poor body image, they change through surgery, they'll still have poor body image, and it's going to be worse because they're going to be slicing things off everywhere. And body image disorder, by the way, by definition, it's not just someone who wants to be a certain weight or wants to have a certain hair color. These body image disorder is where people have a distorted view of themselves. So even if you physically, literally change how they look, when they look at themselves in the mirror, they'll still see something ugly, something dissatisfying for them. And so surgery is not going to solve that, unfortunately. I think a really good discussion, exploration of why you want it done, making sure your expectations are realistic, again, is very important.
Do you think, Laanya, your procedures have really helped you live your best life or has affected you really positively?
I think when we talk about living my best life, you cannot get this from plastic surgery or you cannot get this from the aesthetics. And that's a complete disclaimer that I have to make because at some point I was still unhappy when, this is going to be a little harder for me to talk about because it's about skin color, right? I live in an Asian society and my skin color is the most debated about. It's either not acceptable or even in my family, if I go out to the beach and I have a legitimate fear over the sun, believe it or not, because growing up, if I'd gone home to my grandmother, she'd be like, what happened? Why were you out in the sun so long? Why are you roasted? And they'd be angry about it, You're a girl. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that, et cetera, et cetera. And the idea of me not going out in the sun has always been my biggest battle. I've never really spoken about it because it's such an embarrassing thing to experience, when friends try to bring you to the beach and they're like, oh, we're going to be out in bikinis. And you're just like, no, I don't want a suntan because that's traumatizing to deal with the repercussions when technically there shouldn't be. I shouldn't have to deal with this. But it's safe to say I'm not the only tan skin girl out here that experiences this. Some girls overcome it and they are willing and, beyond able to face this. I would call it unnatural fear. It's not even it's groomed in you. And, when Dr. Anna was talking about body dysmorphia and eating disorders, I suffered from an eating disorder to a point where I didn't go to school. I lost my scholarship. I lost a lot of friends because I just canceled. I had vicious cycles of whatever not. And I did help. It did help that I did have all these aesthetic enhancements because for a while, and I realized that it was a very short time that I had the boost of confidence. And then it'd go back to ground zero. But then I had to identify, and I did seek therapy for that, believe it or not. So people like Dr. Anna are lifesavers. They really are. Whether you want to talk about that or not, that is a completely different topic. But the whole idea of sitting down and talking to a specialist on
Yes.
reconfiguring whatever has been, deeply embedded in my system. Was like purging my body off a lot of things. In fact, just the other day, girl, I was at the hair salon. I was fixing my hair, and my hairstylist was like, "You look really happy." And I just looked at him. I was like, "What is that supposed to mean?" It's like, "No, you look really happy." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know I've gained weight, but hey, calm down." We're not gonna like be insinuating everything. But then again, I also caught myself thinking like, "Oh my God, this isn't a bad thing or a good thing." So to conclude that, am I living my best life because of these enhancements? Not necessarily. I live happy knowing that I can go with it and without it.
Yes.
And also because there are choices that I can make. And that's what I'm happy about.
Yes.
And it can add on to why I'm happy.
Yes.
But you also mentioned that not every girl has the luxury and liberty of reaching that awakening.
Yes.
It's unfortunate, but that's why I think it's important for me to share about my experiences and be as honest as possible, because it's possible to get here. Believe me when I tell you, it was really bad. I was abusing laxatives. I was everything, everything in the purge cycle of whatever you could possibly think of, about kind of like scratching your skin off and thinking that I'm the worst human being. And even the title will not help you, It really is the case. And that's why it's so important to share an experience to someone who may not be able to afford therapy.
Yes.
But to see a platform where it's free to the world and they're talking about it and they have the hope, because there were a lot of people that I followed, and that became my point of turn before reaching a situation where I could afford therapy and then fix myself. Maybe I'll just give context. I've had fillers done under my eyes, and I'm afraid of needles. So looking at a needle come towards you and you're quite awake, you don't have any anything putting you into sleep or anything, you're just holding a stress ball and the nurse just tapping you on the other side, right? It's very intimidating. And to a certain extent, it's unnecessary stress, right? But once you go through with it and you see the results, it's really nice. It's the immediate dopamine that kicks in. Post results, they're nice for a while. Not very long downtime when it comes to like short procedures like this, non-surgical procedures. I've never really gone under the knife. I've actually considered it, but yet again, it's still a long thought process that I've had since I was 16. And it's 10 years on and I'm still considering it, right? And it's something that really needs a lot of hyping within yourself, because anybody should know, once you go under the knife, there's always a risk. I think I had a friend who had undergone a non-surgical procedure for her nose.
Yes.
I think she had taken something wrong, which she was meant to avoid after an open surgery, or not open surgery, rather an open insertion. And she had a huge reaction on her face. And now she has a hole in her face forever. So these things they won't talk about it. They won't talk about it because they don't want to tell you that this has happened to me, because rarely it does. But she's been comfortable sharing it with people. She's been comfortable talking about it. But these kind of things happen.
Doc Anna, what are those things that you wish more people knew or, really took into consideration when they decide to do it finally?
I hope you know, Laanya, how powerful your story is and can be, because I think it's really important for people to realize that success is never linear or like easy, right? Like there's just one thing that gets you all the success and happiness in the world. It takes a lot of work, ups and downs. And I really, if it's okay to touch on when she talked about skin color and colorism in Asia, even in the Philippines, it's a really, it's a really touchy subject that's not even questioned. It's like just a fact, right? That you shouldn't go out into the sun. That's something we hear from our parents and our grandparents too. And just this idea, and at least for the Philippines, like this is colonialism, isn't it? Right? It's like, okay, make sure you have the skin of the colonizer, the nose of the colonizer, and things like that. And so the thing is, like, when we have these urges and desires for a certain type of feature, you have to at least explore and ask, where's this desire coming from? Is it genuine from me? Because, I really want to look a certain way, right? And I think I agree with Laanya here. There, like, everyone should have the right to express who they are, even through aesthetics and body, right? Sort of autonomy over your body. So we shouldn't ban, like the other way, right? Like where it's all banned and it shouldn't be allowed. So I totally believe in autonomy, and make sure it's genuine autonomy and not, right? Like, for example, it's not because other people are telling you to have this nose. I'm sorry, I keep talking about nose because I think in the Philippines, that's probably one of the more common surgeries here, right? You don't have the right, like lightening, bleaching products to really, and where is the messaging coming from? So I think that's the exploration. So they need to consider, is this genuinely coming from me? And it's something I just really want for myself? Or is this stemming from a pressure that I don't even realize is pressure? Is there, is there a face that I end up gravitating towards, and why? Why, right? So just sort of really making sure that the choice is really yours.
Yes.
Right? That's true autonomy, right? Yeah. So I know this isn't like step 1, step 2.
Yes.
And I hope that really encompasses, right? All of that exploration. You don't need a professional therapist to do this, by the way. It's great if you get access to that. You don't really need to. You just need to really, it's a bigger task, actually. You need to know who you are.
Yes.
You need to know what you want. And some people have many, many ways to answer that for themselves. For some people, it takes a decade to answer that. And so I completely support Lanya's long consideration, right? For more surgery, because there's no right amount of time to make that decision. I'd rather people take their time than rush it and then regret it, because on the concrete, sort of more logistical side, it's just a bigger nightmare to have to fix the wrong surgery than to kind of wait a couple more years.
Definitely. So you really need to take the long journey, as Doc Anna said, and Laanya, 100%, no matter how long it takes. And I think it's very important to emphasize the fact that Doc Anna said you need to have genuine autonomy over yourself and the decision. And I know it's so easy to be persuaded by all of the noises that are outside. When somebody keeps on telling you that this is something that you need to fix, and it becomes immediately ingrained in your system, it's so hard to quiet it down. But at the end of the day, you just really need to figure out why you're doing this, if it's for you, and it's not just because of the push from the outside noises. How about you, Laanya? If they do decide to finally push for it, do you have any tips for hopefully a positive outcome?
Well, at the end of the day, if you feel like you have what you mentioned, the financial resources, the logistical resources, and support, because you're going to need support, family support after the whole process, then I would say go forth. We only wish that we had like noise cancellation as an ingrained feature in our human body, right? Not just in our AirPods, but the reason why, maybe to better answer this question, the reason why I'm taking this long is because some days I'm happy with my nose and some days I'm not.
Yes.
So the only justification I have for wanting to change my nose is aesthetics, like the way I look and whether it would please someone. And I know deep down inside, that's not a good enough reason. And I'm actually wavering towards not getting it done at all, because let's be honest, it's a lot of finance.
Yes.
I unfortunately know a lot of people who only work to save to change the way they look, and it's not realistic. Let's be honest. That is unfortunately not the way I would encourage someone to go about doing any type of enhancements.
Yes.
But if you feel like you have all of this laid out, the groundwork laid out, then go ahead. Do whatever that makes you happy. For someone who I feel has so much of people telling what to do on a day-to-day basis, I feel like I'm able to just cancel all of that with a lot of work. Just make sure that it's not coming from a place of secondary noises.
At the end of the day, it is your face, your body, and it is your genuine autonomy over your whole self.
Yes.
Quoting Doc Anna, and you're the one who has to live with it. So, any last words?
Yeah. So, choice. I'm such a big believer, advocate of choice. That's really what this is. And we've been talking about it this whole time, right? And so the choice is truly yours. So make sure it is yours, right? So that's my last sense.
How about you, Laanya?
Me, it's really just about being present. Take it as it comes, day by day. You cannot measure anything you have no cofactors about.
Yes.
So the best advice I can give anyone is if you're feeling something and it's overwhelming you, take it day by day. There's so much resources available on the internet now. Do your duty of learning and understanding, and each day will get better as it comes. It will really get better.
What a lovely way to end our conversation for today. It will get better. It's your choice, and you just need to do your duty to research and to really think long and hard about it. And I think we've covered quite a lot of ground in this episode. We've even tackled beyond beauty enhancements and even, social issues like colorism, self-imaging, and everything that is a part of this conversation today. And it's truly important that we learn and we hear this so that we get even more educated. So I just want to say thank you so much to our lovely ladies, Laanya and Dr. Anna, for being so insightful and really helpful and sharing your very personal experiences to us. It really, really means a lot. Now you can follow Laanya on Instagram at Laanya_Ezraa. That's LAANYA_EZRAA. You can also catch her insightful column called Safe Space, Dr. Anna. That's on Inquirer.net. Again, many thank you so much as well to our dear listeners for joining us today. If this episode resonated with you, we do hope you can share it with your loved ones. And again, please don't forget to follow the Zalora Talks podcast as we have many other exciting discussions coming right up. Until then, I'm your host, Angelique Manto, and this is Zalora Talks.